Former Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman has been found not guilty of murdering black teenager Trayvon Martin, a verdict which has caused fury across the U.S.
It's sad that we live in a place called United States of America where they always glamorize this is the place to come, not for African American, because we've been slaughtered. We've been working for free since we've been here. We never get justice when a police killing or when another color kills us.
Demonstrators outside the Florida courthouse chanted justice for Trayvon and called for a nationwide protest over what they considered to be racial injustice. Similar protests took place in other U.S. cities, including New York, Chicago and Los Angeles. Zimmerman faced life in prison for shooting 17-year-old Martin in February last year, something he claims was in self-defense. And even though it turned out the teenager was unarmed, Zimmerman was still not charged for over 2 months. So the case has become the cause for fierce debate about racism and guns all over the country. Let's get more now on this from investigative journalist George Mapp. Mr. Mapp, thank you very much indeed for joining us here at RT. Wasn't justice served if the state could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was second-degree murder? I'm sorry.
It's very complicated. Definitely justice was not served. You have George Zimmerman, who killed Trayvon Martin, an unarmed teenager who's dead now. And George Zimmerman is walking around as a free man with the gun that he killed Trayvon Martin with. Now, unfortunately, according to the law, George Zimmerman was found not guilty. I understand the law. I spent a lot of time in courtrooms. I followed a lot of different cases. And unfortunately, if there is just one, bit of, doubt, if there's any doubt, the jury has to find him not guilty.
Protesters say the verdict demonstrates racial injustice. So would it have played out differently if Zimmerman were black and Trayvon Martin was white?
Well, I think a lot of the people, from what I saw in the courtroom, so many people were trying to skirt around the issue of race, and it absolutely, in my opinion, was a racial case. I think there's absolutely no doubt, and I think if any, person looked logically at what would happen if George Zimmerman would have been black and he killed Trayvon Martin, who would have been white. I absolutely positively think that he would, George Zimmerman would have been arrested right away and he would have been found guilty eventually. I think there's no one who argue that, and I think if they do, they're just not, being sensible and not being honest with themselves. That's why there's such a huge debate in the country now. This has triggered such huge emotions. I've never seen such, negative comments and racial comments and slurs on social media ever before, in the months to follow Trayvon's murder, and now recently with the announcement of the verdict, it's brought out the worst in Americans, unfortunately. It's a very huge racially, divided trial.
But by arguing about race, could it be that some civil rights activists were just trying to make Zimmerman a scapegoat for decades of racial inequality in the U.S.?
I mean, that could be part of it. I don't know their motivation, so I can't speak for them. But in my opinion, I mean, being a father in America and having 2 sons, I don't think anybody, unfortunately, and growing up in America, can know what it is like to be black in America unless they experienced it, unless you've been, pulled over DWB, driving while black. It's happened to me. It's happened to most black males, unfortunately. They have to stop and frisk in America. George Zimmerman, like I said, he's walking around free with the gun that killed Trayvon Martin. And the thing is that this was a man that should have stayed in his vehicle, as according to the police. He disregarded what the police told him to do, and he went and followed Trayvon Martin. And now the unarmed teenager is dead, and Trayvon, and George Zimmerman is free with the gun that he killed him with. It's definitely, not just. And that's because the justice system, unfortunately, the justice system in all states is different, and unfortunately, not all the laws are just. We had civil rights movement, we had to fight to change the rules, the laws. Going back to the times of when the Constitution was written, were slaves. So, the people that say, come out on TV, and a lot of the people in Congress saying that, the laws are colorblind, it's definitely gotten better over the years, but that's, people had to fight for that. And there still needs to be some adjustments. If you look at the criminal justice system in America,
Right.
it's
Very
very biased.
controversial nature of this case indeed. All right, investigative journalist George Martin, thank you very much for talking to us.